On a slate-gray December afternoon in 1900, the coastal steamer Hesperus approached the lonely lighthouse on Eilean Mòr, the largest of the Flannan Isles. Captain Jim Harvey expected the usual exchange, a greeting from the three keepers, the flag raised in recognition. But no flag flew, no figures waved from the cliffs. The lighthouse, a stark white column against the bruised sky, stood in silent warning. A sense of wrongness settled over the crew as they drew nearer. The relief keeper, Joseph Moore, was put ashore alone. His footsteps on the narrow path were the only sound. The main gate and the outer door were closed but unlocked. Inside the silent living quarters, a clock had stopped. The fire was cold ash. A chair lay overturned near the table, set for a meal that was never eaten. A plate of mutton stew had congealed, untouched. The men's oilskins and boots remained, but Thomas Marshall, James Ducat, and Donald McArthur were gone without a trace. Moore's shouts echoed back at him from the empty tower. He climbed the 200 steps, his dread growing with every turn. At the top, the lens was clean and the lamps were ready for lighting. The logbook, however, told a fractured, troubling tale. The final entry, dated December 15th, recorded severe winds, a storm the likes of which I have never seen before. But the pages before it spoke of calm weather. And the storm it described had not been felt on the mainland, only 45 miles away. The log and the island itself became a locked room mystery set against the roaring Atlantic. An official investigation led by the Northern Lighthouse Board began with the condition of the island itself. West of the lighthouse, the iron railings along the cliff path were bent and twisted. A storage box anchored in solid rock over 200 feet above sea level had been torn from its mountings. A lifebuoy was missing from its post nearby. These were not the signs of a simple accident, but of a force of incredible violence focused on that one specific spot. Piecing together the logbook's clues with the physical evidence, the board constructed a likely theory. On December 15th, head keeper Ducat may have seen enormous freak waves gathering force from the west. He might have ordered Marshall, the second assistant, to accompany him to secure equipment at the landing platform. McArthur, the third keeper known for his fiery temperament, was ordered to stay behind in the lighthouse, a rule that was strict and unbreakable. Something then went terribly wrong at the cliff's edge. A colossal wave, a rogue of impossible height, must have surged up the 200-foot cliff face, sweeping both men into the abyss. From the lighthouse door, McArthur would have witnessed the disaster. In a desperate breach of protocol, he rushed out without his oilskins to try and help, only to be snatched by a second following wave. The sea, having taken its prizes, then fell calm, leaving no witness but the stopped clock and the cold stew. The board's report called it an act of God, a tragedy of duty, and the overwhelming power of nature. Despite the logical conclusions of the report, the complete vanishing of three experienced men left a void, filled with darker speculation. The stopped clock and the uneaten meal suggested an interruption both sudden and compelling. Why would all three leave the lighthouse together, especially when one was a seasoned veteran like Ducat, who knew the deadly risks? Whispers of a fight, a terrible argument culminating in violence and a cover-up, began to circulate. Could McArthur, a man with a temper, have snapped? Theories spoke of one man going mad, murdering his companions, and then throwing himself into the sea. Others looked to more supernatural explanations. The Flannan Isles were old lands, steeped in Celtic myth. Some sailors spoke of the islands being haunted, of ghostly voices on the wind. Locals muttered about the seventh wave, a legendary devouring force that could pluck men from solid ground. The most haunting theory, however, was one of collective, inexplicable dread. Perhaps something was seen on that cliff, something in the water or in the gathering dusk, that compelled all three men to flee the safety of the tower in unified horror, only to be consumed by the very sea they sought to escape. The truth vanished with Thomas Marshall, James Ducat, and Donald McArthur. The Flannan Lighthouse stands today, its light a steady warning against the dark sea and the darker mysteries it keeps. For more true tales of unexplained vanishings and historical horrors, subscribe to Truth Horror Stories on YouTube. New mysteries await every week.